Hi there, my name's John Stevens, pastor of Zion Lutheran Church in Oregon City, Oregon, and we're part of the ELCA, and welcome to Dollar Store Children's Sermons, where we take a look at the lectionary texts and we tie them to an item from the Dollar Tree. This is for the 13th Sunday after Pentecost, and we're looking at the gospel lesson and the first reading, and I tell you what, these are ones that I'm struggling with the children's sermon, so I'm going to give you a springboard. I'm hoping it can work for you, and we're just going to go with it there. I've even got to remember, I'm using a bag of marshmallows, and I'm actually thinking about, there's a Netflix special called Magic for Humans, and it's one of the first ones that Justin Williman does, where he has this, it's kind of that setup where you put a cookie in the middle of the room and you have a kid by himself, and to see how long it is till they eat the cookie, and he does the thing with a marshmallow, and it's funny, but it really gets at that point that that try as we might, we're gonna mess up, we're gonna stumble, and so what I'm thinking about on this is that these texts tell us that we are called to put God first. I mean, he uses the commentary on Working Preacher is pretty helpful, talking about we don't usually use the word hate as a spiritual gift, and so I'm not even working with that in the children's sermon, but this idea that the texts say that we are called to put God first. We are. But the fact is that there's so many times that we don't. And so, using this idea of the marshmallow, that put a temptation that we're not supposed to, we're going to put the marshmallows there, don't eat them. And we know we're going to be called, and there's just this drive to eat them, or a cookie, or a piece of candy, it's the Garden of Eden story. Here's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Do not eat from it. Here's the tree of life. All this, do not. And they do, because it's human. It's in our fallen nature, if you will. But in these texts, we're called to put God first. So how do we deal with the fact that we don't? And the fact is the beauty of God's grace is that God always comes to us first. Working on that with the marshmallows, basically saying, hey, and it might work well in this to tell your own story about how there was something in your life that it was put there. You were called to put God first, and you didn't. Because we all have the stories. We all have the stories where we stumble and we fall, and we've messed up. And so perhaps I'm using the bag of marshmallows to talk about it, to have it sit there and say, the reason I brought the bag of marshmallows up there is to talk about that I have a hard time resisting a marshmallow. I have a hard time not eating a marshmallow. Story for me is that my younger brother years ago, many years ago, got for me, and I'm using a different story, but the story that comes to my mind is my brother got for me for Christmas a bag of Reese's peanut butter cups. And I had put it in my room, and my younger brother kept sneaking into the room and getting a peanut butter cup. And before I knew it, the peanut butter cups were gone because the temptation for him was too great. And and we all have those stories where, for me, I would sneak out I would go into the kitchen when I was a kid, and I would look for candy, and there was the time where I found out what a bouillon cube is, where I thought it was a piece of candy. I unwrapped it, and I put my tongue on it, and a flood of salt, and I can still remember it to this day. So all of these things, when we look at that question about we are called to be in community, we are called to live with one another, we are called to be with one another, and we're called to put God first. And we know that we don't. And that's the law. That's the reminder that we don't do it. And we gather together on Sunday morning. We gather together around the table. We gather together with one another to be reminded that God always comes to us first, that God's grace showers up on us, and then we're given strength to go out into the world again. But we know we're going to stumble. We know that we're going to mess up. So that's the direction I'm going. Again, springboards, figuring it out, but it's all about that God's grace, thank you, Jesus, comes to us first. So hope this can be a springboard for your own thinking. As always, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a fantastic week.